There is a common misunderstanding in life that destiny is something that happens to you, that fate is a force that comes knocking, uninvited, overwhelming and inescapable. People walk through life waiting for signs, for moments of grand revelation, for the universe to suddenly lift them up and carry them to the life they always dreamed of. They wait for proof, for miracles, for lucky breaks. But what if I told you that destiny is not something that chooses you randomly? What if I told you that it is something that reveals itself only to those who are prepared to carry it? This idea can be found in many forms. Sometimes it comes in the form of a story passed down by monks, where a young warrior seeks purpose in the mountains and is told by the master, "When your heart is ready, the path will appear." Other times it comes in quiet reflections, moments when your soul whispers truths that your mind does not yet understand. But occasionally it takes a physical form, something small, something overlooked, yet deeply symbolic. A line on your hand. A mark you didn't ask for, but one you now carry. People look at this line and ask, does this mean I'm chosen? But that is the wrong question. The real question is, am I ready to understand what being chosen truly means? You see, the universe doesn't waste its wisdom on the unprepared. It does not cast its light on closed eyes. And it does not speak in the language of ego. It speaks in the language of silence, symbols, intuition. The line you carry on your hand may or may not exist, but what matters more than the physical presence of that line is your perception of it, your awareness, your understanding. It is not the line that gives you power, it is the recognition of it that begins your transformation. In the ancient Shaolin teachings, there is a lesson that many overlook. Before a student is accepted into the temple, before he is even allowed to begin his training, he must sit in silence outside the gates for hours, sometimes for days. Not because the monks are testing his endurance, but because they are testing his awareness. Can he remain still when the world is moving? Can he remain centered while the wind and rain tempt him to move? Can he notice that the real gate is not the wooden door before him, but the threshold inside his own mind? In the same way, when people hear about a line on the palm that signifies something rare, something chosen, they often focus on the outer form. Do I have it? Show me where it is. Tell me what it means. But these are the questions of the unprepared. These are the words of someone who still believes destiny is a reward. But destiny is not a reward, it is a response to readiness, a response to self-discipline, a response to the one who has gone through the fires of doubt and pain, and come out, not begging for miracles, but walking with stillness and clarity. To be chosen does not mean you are special. It means you are responsible. It means that something within you is being called into service. It means your awareness has reached a threshold where now the truth cannot be hidden from you anymore. And that truth may arrive as a vision, or as a quiet sense that you are meant for something more, or perhaps in a single line, invisible to others but undeniable to you. There is a story from my youth that I have never forgotten. A fellow student in the temple had trained for years, strong, sharp, intelligent, but prideful, always seeking approval, always wanting recognition. One day, our master spoke to us about the line of destiny. He said there is a line on the hand that reveals your calling. Not all have it, and not all who have it understand it. Immediately the student examined his hand, searching, calculating, comparing with others. He found a line that matched the description and smiled with satisfaction. "I have it," he whispered to himself. From that day on, he carried himself as if he was different, better. He believed that the universe had chosen him above the rest. But what he didn't realize was that in doing so, he had already failed the lesson. Because being chosen does not elevate you above others. It humbles you beneath the weight of purpose. The master later approached him and said, "You may have the line, but you do not have the sight. You saw with your eyes, not your awareness." And just like that, the student was asked to start his training from the beginning. Because in the Shaolin tradition, the body can be strong, but if the spirit is not aligned, then all strength is meaningless. To see the line and understand it is not about pride, it is about preparation. You are not chosen because of a mark. You are chosen because you have cultivated the stillness to hear the call that the mark represents. You are chosen because you have lived through the storms and did not let them corrupt your heart. You are chosen because you have seen the worst in yourself and decided to transform, not retreat. You are chosen because you choose again and again to walk a path that demands discipline, presence, and responsibility. The greatest warriors do not look like heroes, they look like gardeners. They wake early, they water what must grow, they remove what must not, and they repeat day after day. That is how destiny recognizes them, not through fame, not through applause, not through gifts, but through habits. So let's return to the idea of the line on your hand. Whether it is there or not is not the point. The point is, when you look at your hand, do you see the symbol of potential? Do you understand the sacredness of your own being? Do you recognize that your existence is not accidental and that every scar, every pain, every joy has prepared you for a deeper calling? The hand is a tool. It holds, it builds, it strikes, it heals. The line then becomes a reminder, a sacred reminder that your life is not for wasting, that time is not infinite, that your breath is not guaranteed. If you have the awareness to see that, then you are ready. And if you are ready, then you are already chosen. And yet, even in this truth, there is more, because readiness is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. You may have seen the line today, but tomorrow, if you forget to live with presence, the line disappears. Not from your hand, but from your spirit. Destiny is not permanent. It must be earned over and over. Not through achievements, but through alignment. A monk wakes each morning not wondering what he will receive, but asking what he will become. That is the mindset of the chosen. Not what does the world owe me, but what can I offer to this moment? The line becomes your teacher. It reminds you, stay awake, stay grounded, stay clear. There are thousands of people who have more talent than you, more opportunity, more resources, but few will ever know what it means to be truly chosen, because they never ask the real questions. They chase signs instead of cultivating stillness. They want meaning without discipline. They want recognition without readiness. But the universe does not respond to desire, it responds to alignment. The energy you carry within you is your message to the world. It is not your appearance, it is not your story, it is your energy. And that energy is shaped by your habits, your thoughts, your intentions, your breath. So the next time you look at your hand, pause. Breathe. Forget about the line. Ask instead, how am I living? Who am I becoming? What am I building? What am I ignoring that I should be facing? That is the path of the chosen, not because you were given something rare, but because you were given the ability to recognize that every moment is rare, that every breath is sacred, that your life, no matter how ordinary it may seem, is a piece of a much larger harmony. Destiny is not somewhere out there. It's not waiting in the distance. It is right here, right now. It is in the way you sit, the way you speak, the way you treat others when no one is watching. The line is not proof of destiny. The line is the invitation. The question is, will you answer it? The idea that you are chosen is a powerful one, but just as fire warms or burns depending on how it is used, the belief of being chosen can either awaken responsibility or inflate ego. The world is filled with people who think they are chosen, special, superior, but few realize that to be truly chosen is to be burdened, not rewarded. It is to carry the quiet, invisible weight of self-responsibility, to walk a path of awareness in a world that wants to distract you, to act with discipline when the rest of the world chooses comfort. That is what marks the truly chosen, not a line on the palm, not a blessing whispered by destiny, but the way they carry themselves when no one is watching. We live in a time when most people seek freedom from responsibility. They want the rewards without the path. They want the strength without the struggle. They want clarity without the silence. And most of all, they want meaning without the discipline required to shape it. But that is not how life works. That is not how the universe operates. Everything in life comes with a price, and for the chosen, the price is inner responsibility. What is inner responsibility? It is the decision to no longer blame, to no longer complain, to no longer wait for someone to fix you, heal you, guide you, or save you. It is the inner fire that burns through excuses. It is the willingness to stand still and face your patterns, your shadows, your truth. Inner responsibility is when you begin to understand that everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do echoes into your destiny. It is not punishment, it is power, but only for those who are willing to carry it. When you are truly chosen, life does not get easier, it gets clearer. You begin to see the patterns of your mind more sharply. You begin to notice how your reactions shape your relationships. You begin to observe how every habit, no matter how small, becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Most people ignore this. They live in reaction. They respond with emotion. They make decisions based on fear, pleasure, or convenience. And then they wonder why their lives feel chaotic, why they feel lost, why they cannot find peace. But the chosen, the ones who understand inner responsibility, do not run from chaos. They face it, they study it, they bring order to it from within. The mark of the chosen is not what you carry in your hand, it is what you carry in your mind when things fall apart. It is your breath when you are anxious. It is your posture when you are discouraged. It is your tone when others are angry. It is the way you walk through darkness without letting the darkness walk through you. And this is not something you perform for others. It is not something you wear like a costume. It is something you embody, quietly, consistently, invisibly, because it has become part of who you are. Discipline is the outer layer of responsibility, but awareness is the core. Without awareness, discipline becomes punishment. Without awareness, effort becomes ego. But with awareness, everything changes. When you begin to see yourself clearly, without illusion, without justification, you awaken a new level of honesty. And honesty is the path of the chosen. Not the honesty you show to others. The honesty you show to yourself. Can you admit when you are wrong? Can you recognize when you are falling into old habits? Can you stop the pattern before it pulls you back into unconsciousness? This is why the journey of the chosen is a lonely one, not because you are isolated from others, but because you no longer allow yourself to be lost among them. You do not follow the crowd when the crowd is blind. You do not celebrate noise when silence is needed. You do not chase pleasure when discipline is calling. You do not reach outward for fulfillment when you know the answer is inward. Many times in life, the chosen are misunderstood. They are called too serious, too quiet, too distant. But that's because they are not looking for attention. They are building something sacred within. They are cleaning their inner temple. They are listening to the subtle voice of wisdom that most people drown in distraction. They do not fear being alone. They fear being disconnected from themselves. That is their compass. That is their guide. Responsibility begins with thoughts. Most people do not understand how powerful a thought is. A single thought, if repeated enough, becomes a belief. A belief, if strong enough, becomes a behavior. And behavior, over time, becomes character. So if your thoughts are undisciplined, your life will be as well. This is why the chosen do not entertain thoughts that weaken them. They do not feed the mind with fear. They do not indulge fantasies that drain their energy. They observe the mind, but they are not controlled by it. They discipline the mind, but they do not shame it. They speak to themselves with clarity, with firmness, and with compassion. And through this internal dialogue, they begin to shape a new destiny, one that is not inherited, but earned. The idea that someone is chosen often creates the illusion that they were born lucky, that life favored them, that the universe gave them something rare. But what most people forget is that those who are truly chosen, those who walk the path of mastery, peace, and purpose, they were not chosen because of what they were given, they were chosen because of what they chose to become. They chose to keep going when it was easier to give up. They chose silence when the world shouted lies. They chose integrity when compromise would have brought comfort. They chose truth again and again, even when it hurt. In the Shaolin Temple, this is what we learn from the beginning. Responsibility is the highest form of freedom. When you take ownership of your energy, your breath, your body, your thoughts, your time, you no longer have to wait for life to bless you. You become the blessing. You no longer need permission. You are already aligned. You no longer need to search for your purpose. You are living it in each conscious act. But let me be clear. This path is not glamorous. It is not easy. There is no applause. There are no shortcuts. And most of the time no one will understand the weight you carry. They will not see the choices you make when no one is watching. They will not feel the battles you fight inside your own mind. But that is what makes you chosen. You do it anyway. You keep showing up. You keep breathing mindfully. You keep acting with clarity. You keep walking with intention. You keep mastering yourself, not because it is expected, but because it is who you are. And slowly everything begins to shift. Your presence becomes medicine. Your words begin to carry power. Your silence begins to hold depth. Your energy becomes a mirror for others. And though you never asked to be a leader, you become one, not through authority but through alignment, not through control but through example. People often ask, how do I know if I am chosen? And I always say, it's not about what you have, it's about what you are willing to carry. If you can carry your pain without projecting it, you are chosen. If you can carry your doubts without running from them, you are chosen. If you can carry your truth without forcing it onto others, you are chosen. If you can carry your vision even when no one believes in it, you are chosen. And if you can carry the responsibility of your own awakening, moment by moment, breath by breath, then you are not only chosen, you are already walking the path that few even dare to see. Responsibility is not a burden when it is embraced with love. It becomes a blessing. It becomes a bridge between who you were and who you can be. It becomes the quiet strength that lifts others, the calm presence that anchors storms, the invisible structure that builds a life of depth, wisdom, and purpose. That is what the chosen understand. That is why their lives, though often simple from the outside, hold a quiet power that cannot be explained, only felt. So if you find within yourself a calling, an awareness, a deep knowing that your life must be lived differently, honor that, even if it's difficult, even if you stand alone, even if the world misunderstands you. Honor it with your breath, with your actions, with your discipline. That is what it means to be chosen. The question is never whether destiny exists. The real question is whether you are willing to prepare yourself for it. Most people want to be chosen, but very few understand that being chosen requires preparation that is invisible to the world. It is not about one moment of recognition. It is about the thousands of moments no one sees, the silent sacrifices, the small decisions, the difficult self-restraint, the patience that must be stronger than your hunger for results. You do not stumble upon purpose. You prepare for it, slowly, quietly, repeatedly. In the Shaolin teachings, the preparation is never glamorous. You sweep the floor, you wash your bowl, you rise before the sun, you stretch, breathe, and repeat the same movement 10,000 times. Not to perfect the movement, but to purify the mind. Because a mind that is still can feel its way into the right path. A mind that is agitated, distracted, and impatient will miss every sign the universe sends. So the preparation is not only physical, it is energetic, it is spiritual. It is the unseen training that sharpens your awareness to such a degree that even silence speaks to you. Many people want the destiny, but they do not want the discipline. They want the crown, but not the weight of it. They want to be called, but they do not want to carry what that calling requires. They believe the chosen ones are lucky, but in truth the chosen ones are simply those who stayed on the path long enough to shed their illusions, long enough to confront their shadows, long enough to let go of who they thought they had to be in order to become who they truly are. And that process is never sudden. It is always slow, it is always subtle, and it always begins within. To be chosen is to become deeply intimate with preparation, the kind of preparation that no one claps for, the kind that happens in the dark when you are tired and no longer motivated, but you do it anyway, the kind that humbles your ego again and again, the kind that makes you question yourself, yet continues to shape you into someone you barely recognize, someone stronger, clearer, and more centered than ever before. In the temple, the highest compliment is not strength, it is not speed, it is stillness. Stillness reveals a prepared mind. A prepared mind is not disturbed by emotion. It is not reactive. It is responsive. It does not panic. It listens. And from that listening, it chooses wisely. That is the fruit of preparation. Not perfection, but wisdom. Wisdom that has been earned through discomfort, through failure, through showing up anyway. When people ask me how they can find their destiny, I often smile. Because destiny is not something you find, it is something you create space for. It arrives when you are ready, not before. It is like a seed. You cannot force it to grow, but you can water the soil, you can tend to the environment, you can remove the weeds. That is what preparation is. You may not see the results right away, but the inner landscape is changing. The roots are growing. The silence is deepening. And then one day, what was hidden bursts forth. Not because you demanded it, but because you honored the process. True preparation is not exciting. It is not a loud announcement to the world. It is quiet. It is repetitive. It is often frustrating, but it is sacred. Because in those quiet repetitions, you are shaping your character. You are carving your discipline. You are breaking your attachment to comfort and replacing it with strength. The chosen are not chosen at random. They are prepared in private, over years, through storms, through silence, through every choice that says, I am not here to impress, I am here to transform. And the most difficult part of preparation is this, letting go of the outcome. You train not because you want a reward. You train because the training itself is your devotion. You rise early not to prove something, but to align yourself. You control your speech not to gain praise, but because you know words carry energy, and you are no longer willing to harm others just to express your emotions. You breathe before reacting because you understand that one moment of awareness can prevent years of regret. This is the unseen discipline that separates those who are interested from those who are ready. To be chosen is not a gift. It is a reflection, a mirror of who you have become. Life does not hand out purpose randomly. It places it in the hands of those who can carry it with humility, with focus, with grace. And the only way to become that person is through consistent preparation. Preparation of the body, of the mind, of the breath, of the heart. There is a saying in the East, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But most people misunderstand this. They believe the teacher is an external person, a master, a guru. But the real teacher is life itself. Life becomes your master the moment you stop resisting it. Every moment becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes training. Every difficult person becomes a mirror. And your response to these lessons is your preparation. Will you react with emotion, or will you respond with awareness? Will you run from the challenge, or will you breathe into it? Will you blame the world, or will you ask, what is life trying to teach me? If you can ask that question sincerely, without pride, without complaint, then you are already preparing. Even in your confusion, even in your pain, even in your doubt. Preparation does not require perfection. It only requires presence, over and over, until presence becomes your natural state, until you can walk through fire and not lose your balance, until your inner world is so stable that no outer chaos can shake it. Then you are ready. Then you are chosen. And still the journey continues, because there is no final destination, only deeper levels of preparation. Each layer brings you closer to clarity. Each trial strips away the unnecessary. Each silence deepens your understanding, and slowly, without even realizing it, you become someone who does not chase destiny. You embody it, you live it, you speak it, you walk it, and others feel it, not because you tell them, but because your presence says it all. This kind of preparation is not taught in schools. It is not measured in degrees or certificates. It is measured in your ability to remain centered when nothing goes your way. It is measured in how you treat others when you are in pain. It is measured in whether you can sit with yourself without distraction, without stimulation, without needing to escape. That is the true preparation. That is the training of the chosen. So do not ask, when will my purpose arrive? Ask instead, how can I prepare myself to carry it? Do not ask, where is my sign? Ask, can I become quiet enough to recognize it? Do not ask, why is it taking so long? Ask, what else do I need to master within myself before I am ready? The line on your hand may be there, or it may not, but that does not matter. The real line is the one you are drawing each day with your actions, your thoughts, your habits. That is the line of your preparation. That is the mark of your readiness. And when it becomes strong enough, deep enough, clear enough, destiny will not need to find you. It will rise within you. There is something the modern world forgets, something that is not written in books or taught in schools. It is the understanding that those who are truly chosen often go unseen. They are not the loudest in the room. They are not always recognized, rewarded, or understood. Their lives are not full of constant applause or celebration. Instead, they are marked by solitude, clarity, and quiet alignment with the truth. Because the path of the chosen is not a path of performance. It is a path of presence. And presence, true presence, is invisible to those who are asleep. We live in a time when everyone wants to be seen, to be validated, to be followed, praised, and approved of. People spend their energy curating images, building masks, chasing attention. But the one who is truly chosen does not seek attention. He seeks alignment. She seeks truth. They are not moved by the noise of the world because they have found something deeper, the stillness within themselves. And in that stillness, they have realized that real power does not need to be broadcast. It simply is. It moves differently. It lives differently. It walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere, not by force, but by frequency. The chosen ones often walk alone, not because they are arrogant, but because they have heard a different call. A call that is not understood by the masses. A call that leads them away from distraction and into self-mastery. A call that demands silence, solitude, discipline, and trust. And this trust is not in the world. It is in something higher, something sacred. A trust that everything they need will come, not when they chase it, but when they are ready. This readiness is not external. It is an inner state, cultivated in moments of deep honesty, cultivated in choices that no one will ever witness, cultivated in still nights when the rest of the world is asleep. This is why the chosen are misunderstood. They do not explain themselves. They do not defend their path. They do not argue with ignorance. They do not engage in battles of ego. Because they know truth defends itself. Silence speaks volumes. And real strength does not announce itself. It simply endures. It simply exists. In a world addicted to proving, the chosen one walks in surrender. Not weakness, but strength beyond the need to be seen. And yet, this path is not easy. To walk as the chosen one is to face the loneliness of being awake in a world that prefers to sleep. It is to carry a message others do not want to hear. It is to hold a level of awareness that can be painful, because you see through the illusions, you see the games. You see the false smiles, the shallow conversations, the lies we tell ourselves. And because you see, you cannot unsee. You cannot return to ignorance. So instead you choose to walk the path of wisdom. You choose to walk the path of stillness, of clarity, of alignment. And that path will cost you. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you popularity. It will cost you the approval of those who are still trying to please the world. But what you gain is something they cannot comprehend. You gain peace. You gain purpose. You gain a mind that is not disturbed by chaos. You gain a heart that no longer needs external love to feel whole. You gain an energy that speaks for you. And when you reach that state, you begin to realize being unseen is a blessing. Because the less they see you, the more space you have to become who you truly are. In the temple, we are not taught to seek the spotlight. We are taught to master our breath, to master our mind, to master our body. Because if you can walk with presence, you do not need to shout. If you can speak with stillness, you do not need to argue. If you can live with clarity, you do not need to convince. And if you can be invisible to the world, you become visible to the divine. Because the divine does not look at your followers, your fame, your fortune. It looks at your discipline, your energy, your willingness to live the truth even when it hurts. The path of the chosen one is a silent path, and in that silence there is great power. Because silence teaches you what noise never will. It teaches you patience. It teaches you depth. It teaches you how to listen, not just to others, but to yourself, to the subtle voice within, the one that whispers, "This is not your path. Turn here. Rest now. Wait." That voice cannot be heard when you are surrounded by noise. It can only be heard when you have become still enough to recognize it. And once you hear it, you can never go back. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means doing from a deeper place. Acting from a place of awareness, not reaction. Speaking from a place of truth, not performance. Moving through the world with intention, not with impulse. That is the walk of the chosen. It is not about being special. It is about being sovereign. You no longer belong to the opinions of others. You belong to the truth within yourself. And yet, this sovereignty is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is gentle but unshakable. It is quiet but undeniable. And when you meet someone walking that path, you feel it. You may not know what it is. You may not be able to explain it, but you sense it. Something about their presence calms you, it challenges you, it invites you to rise. And that is the gift of the chosen. They do not inspire through words. They inspire through being, through the way they walk, through the way they sit, through the way they breathe, because they have aligned themselves with something greater than the world, and it radiates from them. But to reach that place, to truly live that way, requires sacrifice. It requires you to let go of who you think you need to be. It requires you to disappoint others in order to be authentic. It requires you to leave the crowd, to say no when everyone else says yes, to sit in silence when everyone else is screaming. And in those moments, you may doubt yourself. You may wonder if the path is worth it, but the answer always comes, not from outside, but from within. A quiet knowing, a deep clarity, a sense that even in your solitude, you are exactly where you need to be. And slowly, you begin to see your life is not meant to be a performance. It is meant to be a practice, not for others, but for yourself. A sacred training ground, a daily devotion, each breath a meditation, each step a prayer, each moment an opportunity to return to the truth. And when you live this way, the world no longer has power over you. You are not shaken by praise or criticism. You are not moved by trends or temptations. You are anchored in something deeper, something that cannot be taken away. This is what it means to be chosen, not to be better than others, but to be more aligned with your purpose, not to rise above others, but to go deeper within yourself, not to lead others through force, but to guide them through example, and not to shine in the light, but to glow in the dark, quietly, steadily, consistently, because the fire within you does not need to be seen, it simply needs to be lived. And in time, that fire will guide others, not because you told them to follow it, but because they felt its warmth, they saw its steadiness, they recognized its truth, and in that recognition, something within them awakens, a memory, a knowing, a call, and the cycle continues, one silent light awakening another. This is how the world changes, not through noise, not through force, but through silent ones who walk the path unseen.